If you're interested in Beyond Quantum Healing, then you're in the right place. Stick around. I'm going to tell you what it is and what to expect from a session. So what is Beyond Quantum Healing? Well, it's a form of hypnosis. It was created by Candace Goldman. She actually worked with Dolores Cannon, who I think could be considered the mother of hypnosis. That's my personal opinion. Dolores Cannon wrote a number of books, and Candace, having been a practitioner for some number of years, determined that there were certain things that she would really like to do within a session that is not permitted within QHHT. And that brings me to the difference of a quantum healing hypnosis technique session as created by Dolores Cannon versus a Beyond Quantum Healing session as created by Candace Goldman. And there are a couple of differences. One of which that really sticks out to me is that with quantum healing hypnosis technique, QHHT, it's very regimented, meaning there's a lot of structure to it. So there are scripts that you must follow in a specific order, from my understanding, and you do not deviate from the way Dolores did it herself. You also cannot do online sessions, whereas Beyond Quantum Healing, BQH, you can do online sessions because, as we all know, energy knows no distance, time, space, none of it. It is just as viable here as it is there. And there are safeguards that are put in place for online sessions. But also, Candace noticed that there were certain things that she could bring to the table that were not being taken into account by QHHT. Or with her form, BQH, you can actually use your unique talents and gifts and skills that you've learned and were born with in a session. From my experience with BQH, I have noticed that each session is unique, and there's always a flow, but it is not in the same order. And it is a very fluid type of experience. And I'm allowed with BQH to use my intuition to really kind of move with the higher self and with the guides and with the angels and whomever comes through. And we kind of go in no specific order, although I do like to start with the lives. That's kind of where we drop off. But it is fluid in the middle and toward the end. So there is a script at the beginning and a script at the end that I follow. And that is pretty much the only two things that are identical in a session. Otherwise, I'm able to really gauge where the person is and work with their higher self in order to provide their specific, unique session. Speaking of, every session is unique. Just as we are, every session is going to be tailored to you in every way. The information that you receive, the questions that you come with, that you ask, all of that, the healing that you receive, who we speak with, if they speak through you or if you're translating for them, all of this is very, very individual. And one thing that I do know is that you will always, always, always receive exactly what you need from a session. Even if it's something that seems small to me, for the client, it's huge. So, and even if it's something, obviously if it's something huge, we both know, we feel the impact of that. So how does a session work? Well, before a session, there are certain things, at least a session with me, there are certain things that I have you do to prepare yourself mentally and emotionally for the time that we're going to spend together. And one of the things is keep an open heart and an open mind. No expectations. Drop them all. If you've watched videos on BQHs or QHHTs, just drop all of it. Do not come in expecting to have an identical session or a session that is similar to someone else, because it will not happen. As soon as you put expectations on it, your consciousness has something to grab onto, and it doesn't actually step aside, and the session will be rocky and bumpy. Now, another thing that I always recommend is that you work with some affirmations and some mantras in the days and weeks before your session, depending on how you've scheduled it out, in order to train your brain, so to speak, to feel that clear communication line that you always have with your higher aspects. Number one. Number two, I like you to work with things that enable you to believe that whatever you are ready to release can be done instantly. There's a belief system that we all hold about pretty much everything, right, in this world. And one of them is that change happens over time, or change takes, a week or a year or a month or, whatever. But really, in these sessions, things can happen instantaneously. There is no need for time with most things. And if there is a need, the high self will let us know. So for me, I have everyone prepare by doing the affirmations and the mantras. Meditation is really good. Knowing how to get in a relaxed state, physical state, as well as mental state, is really beneficial for a session like this, a hypnosis session. Another thing that's good is meditation to clear your mind, so that you know that you can just go into that relaxed state and you don't have that busy mind. It's not a requirement, but it does assist with getting into a really deep hypnosis state, much like meditation. And then physically moving your body, not necessarily exercise, but doing it in nature is always a perk. It's always a bonus. Nature has this way of grounding us and really keeping us centered and balanced. And that coming into a session with that energy is so important. And you really can see the effects of someone that has been doing these things in their session versus someone that has not before the session. You can really see the effects when you're in a BQH session. So, a little bit about Beyond Quantum Healing sessions and how they work. You will come with a list of between 12 and 20 questions usually. Some people do more. And these are things that you're curious about. It could be something that happened in your life. It could be, why did this thing happen that has affected me in this, negative way for all of these years? What are the answers to these very spiritual questions that I have? What is my life purpose? I have questions about interacting with my family members and how I can make it easier. Anything that benefits you or that, kind of quenches your curiosity is fair game. So it could be about career, finances, anything. You can ask very, very, pretty much a question about anything in this session. And we will ask the higher self or the guides or whomever it is that we're speaking to at that moment. And they give you the most amazing answers. So you come with a list of questions. We'll sit down and have a little chat, probably about an hour long, sometimes a little bit shorter depending, where we get to know each other and we get really comfortable with each other. And then we go into the hypnosis part of the session. And from there, you're kind of dropped into an area where you can experience past, concurrent, or future lives. And generally, these lives either explain something that is a budding question you have inside of you or something that you've been wondering for a while, or they can assist with maybe some blockages that you feel like you're experiencing within your life. So generally, there is always a reason, a poignant reason for what you see and experience within these. And you can go 3 to 5 lives usually. Some people do go a little bit more because they don't need as much from each of them. But generally speaking, I would say 1 to 5 lives will come up. And like I said, they can be concurrent lives. They can also be future lives. They can be future versions of you that you will meet. And then we communicate and ask your questions after that. And, the sky's the limit with the questions. And from there, we call in the healing team. Now, all of this, aside from the lives, can happen whenever in a session. There is no strict timeline of how I do it. If the healing team is there and waiting and I can sense them, then of course I start with the healing team, because maybe that'll assist with the questions later. So everything is very fluid, but in general, these are the steps that are taken within a session. And the healing team is really, really interesting, because sometimes it is your high self, sometimes it is guides, and sometimes it is a specific set of beings that you work with during this lifetime and others, usually, that this is their expertise for you. This is what they do. So when you feel them and meet them, you'll be really comfortable with them, because you already know them on a soul level. And the healings are very multidimensional, so they can actually take place, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. So there is no limitation unless you set one in. And if something is not able to be healed, they will let us know what it is and why. So if something is not able to be healed, they will let us know why. We can actually ask questions. What is it that is keeping this from being healed? Is there something that I'm supposed to learn from this? So you get a lot of insight from these moments that you have with your team. And I like to call all of these beings that work with you your soul team, because they are literally with you generally through lifetimes and lifetimes of existences. And not all of them are human. And that's something that's really cool that's been coming up in a lot of BQHs lately. A lot of actually QHHT and BQH. And I too have experienced this, where they speak about different timelines. They speak about alternate realities. They speak about the event, which is an Ascension event. And there's a lot of information that comes through. So if you're really curious about that line of, knowledge and wisdom seeking, then you will get answers about that. My own personal BQH session, there was a brief discussion about the event and how we perceive it versus what is really happening. So it's very interesting. This whole experience is so good. And you come away having felt this clarity and this connection and this really grounded centeredness. That's what I got. That's what a lot of people discuss feeling after a session. And you're lighter. You're really lighter. Like, you hold more light. You're less dense and heavy, because you've just released all of these amazing things that were kind of, obviously unnecessary, right? And at least in the now moment. And, things that you were holding on to that you just don't have a lesson around. You just don't have an experience that you really desire to have from them. But, maybe you didn't know how to get rid of them or release them or transmute them. And that's what BQH can do for you. And like I said, every session is individual. And then at the end of the session, we'll have a talk about everything. We'll have a talk about my notes. I take notes during the session and, bring up the high points and maybe things that could start, activating as a key within your life. And do not be surprised if, the first 3 days you feel super, super connected afterwards and you're still getting information and receiving information. And then it might feel as if it tapers off a little bit. That's absolutely normal. Sometimes it doesn't happen, but it is absolutely normal. And I think what you'll find is that it's just a period, after the 3 days or so, is just a period of integration. So you're integrating new things that are coming to you, and you're learning to balance your life without all of the blockages and limitations that you had prior to the session. And it's a beautiful thing. BQH is amazing, and I would recommend it to anyone. And if you're interested, I really think you should check out YouTube, check out some other people's sessions that are being posted, and remember to keep an open heart and open mind. Your team is going to start preparing you for this session before you even book it. And as soon as you book it, you will notice things falling into place in your life for this to occur for you. You will notice that your intuition is a bit stronger and more heightened, and that will continue after the session, of course, as well. So I would just say, if you're interested, kind of research out there, look at some of the ones that I've posted maybe, and that other people are posting, and really, kind of get a feel for what the potential of what they can be. And just remember that your session is going to be unique to you. Just as unique as you are, that is the way your session will go. So I hope that you find Beyond Quantum Healing as interesting as I do, and that this video has piqued your curiosity at the very least. Go ahead and check out my other Beyond Quantum Healing BQH videos, and I'll leave a link in the description so that you can book your free BQH discovery session with me. And like and subscribe to this video. Let me know that I'm doing a good job and that you'd like to see more videos. Click the bell so that you're notified as my new videos come out. And yeah, so much love from my heart to yours. Sending you blessings of unconditional love, pure consciousness, and expansion.